My children hid my fortune until one mistake exposed them. For most of my life, I believed that suffering quietly was a virtue. I believed that a good mother gives everything and asks for nothing. I believed love meant sacrifice, even when it hurt. And most of all, I believed my children would never betray me. I was wrong. My name is Margaret Hale, and at 78 years old, I discovered that my children had stolen not just my money, but my dignity, my comfort, and 12 years of my life. And the truth didn't come out because they confessed. It came out because of one small mistake they never expected. The woman I was before the truth. I was born into a generation where women were taught to endure. Endure marriage, endure motherhood, endure silence. I married my husband, Robert Hale, when I was 22. He was calm, intelligent, and dependable. He worked as a senior engineer for a construction company for over 40 years. I stayed home, raised our children, cooked meals, washed clothes, and built a home that revolved entirely around my family. We had 2 children, Daniel, our eldest, and Laura, our youngest. My entire identity was being their mother. I didn't have a career. I didn't have savings of my own. I didn't even know how to read a bank statement properly. Robert handled all finances. I trusted him completely. Why wouldn't I? He was my husband. When my world collapsed. Robert died suddenly one winter morning. A stroke. No warning. One moment he was drinking coffee at the kitchen table, and the next he was gone. The grief hollowed me out. But grief wasn't the only thing waiting for me. Confusion followed, fear followed, and dependence followed. At the funeral, Daniel took charge. "Mom, don't worry," he said, squeezing my hand. "I'll handle everything." Laura stood beside him, nodding. "You shouldn't stress at your age." I felt grateful, relieved. I had raised them well. They would take care of me. Or so I thought. The lie that shaped my new life. After the funeral, Daniel sat me down. "Dad left some debts," he explained. "Not much savings either. The house will need to be sold." I didn't question him. Why would I? He was my son. And I didn't know any better. The house I had lived in for 35 years was sold within months. Daniel handled the paperwork. Laura helped with logistics. I was moved into a tiny one-bedroom apartment in a quiet, forgotten part of town. My monthly income became $760 from Social Security. Daniel gave me $150 a month, calling it extra help. I thanked him every time. I didn't realize I was thanking him for my own money. How I learned to live with nothing. I learned to survive on almost nothing. I stopped buying meat regularly. I turned lights off constantly. I walked everywhere to save bus fare. I reused tea bags. I skipped meals. I learned how hunger feels when it becomes normal. My clothes became thin and faded. When my heater broke one winter, I used extra blankets instead of calling a repairman. I didn't want to be a burden. That word, burden, followed me everywhere. Their life of abundance. Daniel lived in a 2-story house with a swimming pool. Laura drove luxury cars and posted vacation photos online. Private schools, designer clothes, fancy dinners. Whenever I visited, I felt like an intruder in a world that no longer belonged to me. "How do you afford all this?" I once asked, half joking. Daniel smiled. "Smart investments, Mom." Laura laughed. "You wouldn't understand. It's complicated." I stopped asking. The lonely years. 12 years passed like that. 12 birthdays alone, 12 Christmases with cheap cards, 12 years of believing my life was supposed to be small now. I had one neighbor, Evelyn, a widow like me. She noticed things. "Why do you live like this when your children are so wealthy?" she asked once. "They help me," I said quickly. She looked unconvinced. Margaret, she said softly, silence doesn't protect you. It only protects those who hurt you. I laughed it off, but her words stayed. The mistake that changed everything. The truth came out on an ordinary Tuesday. I collapsed in my apartment. Chest pain, dizziness, darkness. I woke up in a hospital bed with machines beeping around me. The doctor said I needed a procedure immediately. A nurse came in with a clipboard. "Mrs. Hale, we need authorization from your trust administrator." I stared at her. "My what?" "Your trust fund," she said casually. "It covers everything." The room tilted. "I don't have a trust fund," I whispered. She frowned. "It says here you do." That night, a man in a gray suit entered my room. "Mrs. Hale, I'm Thomas Reed, senior manager at Westbridge Trust." The word trust echoed in my ears. The truth revealed. Mr. Reed opened a folder. "Your husband established an irrevocable trust 12 years ago. Initial value $620,000. My breath left my body. It was designed to provide you monthly income for life." I shook my head. "I never received anything." He paused. "Our records show the payments were redirected to an account managed by your son." The silence that followed was unbearable. 12 years. My children had watched me struggle and did nothing. The confrontation. Daniel arrived smiling. "Mom, you scared us." I asked calmly, "Where is my trust fund?" His face drained of color. Laura arrived next. She started crying immediately. "We meant to tell you," Daniel said. "We just needed time." Time? They had 12 years. "For 12 years," I said softly, "I lived like a beggar while you lived like royalty." They couldn't look at me. Why I didn't scream. I didn't scream. I didn't hit them. I asked one question. "Did you ever feel guilty?" They didn't answer. That silence told me everything. The decision that shocked them. I didn't call the police. I did something far worse. I revoked all access. Within days, their accounts were frozen, their mortgage payments failed, their lifestyle collapsed. They called constantly. I didn't answer. My life after the betrayal. I moved. I bought a small home near the sea. I hired help, not because I was weak, but because I deserved comfort. I traveled for the first time in my life. I learned to enjoy mornings again. I smiled, genuinely. When they came back. Months later, Daniel and Laura came begging. I listened quietly. Then I said, "You taught me how to live without you." I closed the door. The lesson. Blood does not excuse betrayal. Silence is not consent, and being a mother does not mean accepting cruelty. Final line, perfect ending. They thought my silence meant ignorance. It was actually survival.